Ladies and gentlemen, check your eyesight. It's not Saturday morning cartoons, but I still got the Avatar connoisseur on. Welcome back to Dog Talks, everybody. Now, today is a special day. I have a legend. I have a very dear friend. A somewhat role model, as young Doug would say, because this man meant a lot to me growing up and still does. I have the Avatar connoisseur, Ty, on the podcast. How you doing, my friend?
Dude, doing good. I've been mowing for like 7 hours today, so my eyes are like swollen shut. My voice is like shaky, but we're gonna do this.
Hey, it means the world that you were like, I will still do this for you, Doug. It really does mean the world that your love for me knows no bounds, and it truly shows, buddy. It really does. You and I have known each other my entire life. I've known you my entire life. You're a little bit older than I am, so it's a little different. But you've always been in my life. I've always been like, oh, there's fucking Doug.
Yeah, my age starts with a 3. Yours doesn't yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So like how we met, because you had that as one of the topics, and dude, I'm trying to remember because like, you know, you said your entire life. When did you move to Hartford? Because like obviously, because what, you were 3 grades younger than me or 2?
3.
You were 3, right?
Yeah. I was born in '96. Kindergarten through 4th grade.
Kindergarten through 4th grade. So like I'm trying to remember whenever like we first, because like we kind of knew who each other were through elementary, but I don't think it was till like probably church camp and youth group that we really like actually got to know each other.
Yeah, I would say 7th grade.
Yeah. So 7th grade for you, right? So that would have been like 9th grade for me.
Yes.
That's whenever I moved back to Hartford.
Same.
Okay. Yeah, so like whenever I came from Poto back to Hartford, that's whenever we finally kind of like actually like started hanging out a little bit. Probably like that 2009-2010 church camp.
Yes.
Would probably be my summit.
2010 was my first year.
Yeah. So 2010 summit. So that would have been your first year. That would have been like my sophomore year. Like my freshman going into my sophomore year.
It'd been your second season in the league.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, that's what it was. Second season Hartford. Yeah, going in. Yeah, because I remember like we talked a lot like that particular church camp, and that's whenever like me, you, and Ray like all together like actually started getting close.
Yeah, it really, and to be quite frank, I where we grew up, no one was really, not that they weren't facing struggles by any means, because we all know what Hartford and where the surrounding towns were like, but you and I kind of struggled to an extent with like the same mental health aspects and certain like that, and I always flocked to you because you were always kind of not an elder in the sense that you were so much older than me, but you had the more wisdom than I did.
Yeah, and I had like, I feel like as far as like going through that kind of stuff, I probably went through the ringer as far as the mental health stuff did, more than probably anybody else at Hartford had actually been through as far as like going through like an actual system of things.
Yeah.
Not saying that other people didn't have just as much on their plate as I did, not to minimize anything like that, but as far as like actual like a systematic way of having to deal with it.
Your legitimate stories and issues is a word, but like the things that you had witnessed and gone through was similar to an extent of things that I was going through, but also like, man, someone had it just as dark as I did, or someone felt just as dark as I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's like even like a big reason of like why I wanted to go into teaching later on, and you know, stuff like that is, you know, I struggled a lot with that, and that was like, you know, academically I was great in school, all of that kind of stuff, but like socially was just, you know, a really hard thing. And then, you know, like you said that, and then like all that happened later was, you know, things just got worse. So and then like until, you know, I finally found a way to like really healthily cope with those things. And stuff like that. So like, yeah, because like you were dealing, I remember it was mainly with like really bad anxiety and depression at the time.
Yeah.
And so like that back then, that's just whenever I was only dealing with my anxiety and depression at the time. That was because like that was before like my OCD had really manifested, and it was before like my PTSD had kicked in and all of that kind of stuff. But
when did your OCD start?
My OCD really started kicking in like I probably always had it, but I didn't really start actually noticing it like taking like reasonable chunks out of my life and like me starting to do like really odd things. Probably until I was like maybe my first, second year of college.
Oh,
is
really?
Where that really started kicking in to where it's like, bro, okay, I need to check my mail like 25 times a day. I need to, and like my thing was always like checking things and counting things. And
do you count tiles, like square tiles when you walk in them? Not like you have to skip one, but do you count them as you're walking down like a row of tiles?
So it's not necessarily like that. My thing is like anytime I start getting like wound up with my anxiety, like I just have to start counting things, whether that's like something that I can see or whether it's literally just starting to count in my head. Things like that. And then like I said, a lot of times like checking things like, bro, I check my email like probably like 900 times a day, something like it's a ridiculous amount.
I understand.
But and then I finally was like, oh hey, that's not normal. Cause like, dude, I was just like, everybody does weird stuff sometimes. And I was like, oh, but it doesn't eat like hours out of their day, probably.
Lexi sent me this video and said, this is how you and your friends this is how your friends' wives react to things and how I react. And I went, oh, okay. And it was that Bob's Burgers bit where Bob walks in and he goes, Lynn, I had a bad childhood. She goes, yeah, I know. Look how you stand. And it was just like us talking to each other, us finding out like other people didn't go through that. And you're like, wait, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, it was just, just things that you're like, oh, this is just me. And then it's like, oh, no, that's like trauma that's happened to me.
Yeah.
And this is the way it's manifesting. And I just didn't understand that at the time. But now I have a lot healthier ways to deal with that. And, there's medication and all that fun stuff.
Yes.
So, doing good now.
I could happily say I went and sought help. 2 Christmases ago.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a little mental break, and I wasn't really doing fully okay. And I'm not shitting you. I went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Most traumatic film I've ever seen in my entire fucking life.
Dude, it's pretty sad. There's parts of that are rough.
Because in Texas, I'm the last of 12 of my friends. All of them have passed to overdose or gang violence and things of that nature. And so the scene where all of Rocket's friends die.
Yeah. It's a rough one.
It legit was. It felt like, in That's So Raven, where you just zoom into her eye and it just goes to whatever she's playing. That's all it felt, was just like me seeing
just
all
reliving stuff. Like you're in those like almost like PTSD type flashbacks.
That was my first like real one to understand, like, oh no, like I'm not just funny, like I do this to cope.
And then it's like, oh, I haven't like dealt with this in a healthy way yet, to where I'm moving on with my life and like dealing with this at the same time.
Yeah. I found out I had a lot of survivor's remorse and a lot of survivor's guilt. Why me? Like, we're 13 and we all made the promise, like, the last one alive can't kill themselves. And it's very dark for 13-year-olds to all say that, but we all made the pact thinking I'm not gonna live to be 13. Like, that's one of y'all is fucked. Like, and now here I am at 28. I'm the last one.
Yeah.
And it's truly been like a really big tool in my life to know like I can't let my friends down one last time. With the last thing I do, I know I can't let my friends down. And it's something that's helped me get through a lot of dark days. And then I went to therapy. I got on medication, and it's helped tremendously. But throughout the sessions, I've constantly thought, like, man, I wonder where I would be if like you and Ray didn't continue to reach out and check on me. And that was a real big reason of why I wanted to do this podcast. Just kind of, when Brad did the first podcast, it was, I'll be very honest, Brad knows it too. I was very like, hey motherfucker, you didn't think I was going to be, you thought I was going to be a Wilkerson or something. Look, you came to my home.
Yeah.
Fuck you. This is, hey buddy, I made it.
Yeah.
Like it means the absolute world that you see the better side of how I'm living now compared to a couple months ago living in Ray's camper. It's in a way still, I'm still that 9th grader, just like, hey guys, like, please like me, and it means the world that not only are you still such a good friend, but you come on the podcast regularly, like you have an avid guest spot, it truly has meant the world for any aspect of a dark point in my life, like you've been there to talk me through it and stuff over my adolescence, and it's meant the world, buddy.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I definitely, haven't been there as consistently and stuff because just, I've been around.
We've grown. You had to grow up.
I've lived in, let's see, in the past 8 years, I've lived in like 4 different states, like all over the country, and so it's been a while, but anytime I'm around, I always enjoy hanging out and checking back up on people and checking in with people, and the podcast is something really fun to do now that I've been back.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be over Discord, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't have to just like get on and like awkwardly like, hey, all I have is my phone and some earbuds, but
yep. Now you have been around quite a bit. Where all of you have lived?
So after Hartford, graduated Hartford, went and lived in Fort Smith, went to UFAS, until I graduated. Right after I graduated, moved off and lived in 2 different like places in the bush in Alaska.
Yeah.
So then after that, moved to a reservation in Montana, and then moved back here. So I guess only 3 states. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Montana.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, so like this area, but then yeah. So 4 states, but like really only 3 areas, I guess.
I know the answer, I feel like, but what's the most beautiful state that you lived in?
Dude,
because I have a couple dad questions.
Yeah, so like every state has like its own things that I really enjoyed. So like Alaska's really pretty, but like that's depending on what part you're in.
Exactly.
So like the part I was in, I lived on like the coast of the Bering Sea, so it's like flat, nothing delta. And there's mountains like way off in the distance, but there's like no trees. Like whenever you think of Alaska, you're thinking of like Anchorage or Juneau, where it's like all the mountains and like all the pine trees and
right.
It's like that is not the part I lived at.
No, you were
that
flat.
Is not flat, nothing. And the first town I lived in didn't even have electricity or running water, so I was there for a year, and then after that I went to a different school where I was still in the bush, but I actually had a toilet and like had electricity. So
oh my goodness,
that was
a year without electricity and running water. That'll change you. That'll
change you. Yeah, like dude, anytime you guys turn on a sink, just be thankful that you don't have to like go outside, use a like chainsaw to cut ice, and then like start a fire to boil your water to take a shower or drink anything.
It already changed me barely having electricity and no water at the camper. Yeah, I was already like
yeah, it's a different way of living for sure. Like
it humbles you.
It puts things in perspective.
Oh man, I
loved it, but it was. There's a reason I only did it for a year.
Yeah, I believe that. Now, Alaska. This is a question strictly from my mother, because my mother is a Catholic Hispanic woman, and she is kooky. Mijo, did you ask Tyler if he saw any aliens or anything in Alaska or Montana?
Okay, so
because my mom can see a ghost anywhere.
You're right. So here's my thing. I'm not superstitious like at all.
Right.
And I have spent like between living here and like I've done like the Appalachian Trail before, and I spend like so much time like hunting and fishing. I spend so much time outside. And between, being here and then being in Alaska and being in Montana, I have seen absolutely 0 things that I couldn't just explain to you. So like I'm sorry. Like I have like all this like, the like stories from natives and stuff like that. And like their like what they believe and things like that. Like in Alaska they would call like anything would go missing or whatever it was, they would call it the jinxies, which are like it's like the little people.
Yep.
And they just like come around and mess with you and screw with your stuff.
Yeah.
But I never saw any. I never saw anything like that. But like I've seen some like wild crap before. But hey, what's that noise? Oh, that's like a literal mountain lion eating a deer, or whatever. Yeah. Yeti stories. Now, dude, the one thing I do always talk about though is like snow days down here. You know how they'll like cancel school for like if there's a chance that it might 10 feet of snow in one day. That's not going to cancel school. But I remember distinctly one day we closed school because a wolf bit a kid. And so, like, we had to close school to go out.
That's like the little oh man, who was it? There was Theo Vaughn talked about his YMCA, like he was learning how to, they were doing like a swim thing for the summer or whatever, and the local cops came and picked up all these kids and had them go corral a bunch of chimpanzees that broke out of a science facility.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, imagine that, 12 shirtless boys soaking wet trying to round up a bunch of chimpanzees.
It's just, yeah, dude, like, it's,
wow.
Whenever you close school for wolves, that's like a wild thing. And then like the wind would get so bad there because it's flat. There's like no trees, no wind breaks, anything like that. So like the wind would get like 90 miles an hour. And I remember in the wintertime, because like in the winter it gets like negative 50, negative 70 degrees or whatever.
Yeah.
And the wind would get so bad, and you would just see like, because the roads, like, there's no cars out there because like you have to get everywhere by airplane, but everybody just has like 4-wheelers or a snow machine.
Yes, little snowmobiles, stuff like that.
Or people would call here snowmobiles, yeah. And so like the roads are the main, like, whatever you want to call a road, where people walk.
Yeah, their lanes.
Yeah, it gets like ground down, so it gets like really slick ice from the 4-wheelers and stuff like that. And whenever the wind would pick up, you just see like people getting just like pushed by the wind without even having to walk.
Yeah.
So like that's the closest thing to like, dude, I just have no anything like that. Like I have like crazy animal stories I could tell you, but
I know.
Nothing like aliens or like chupacabras.
You're the only man I know confidently that I fully believe that's like, yeah, I've killed an animal with my bare hands. Like, oh yeah, and he's like, well, I mean, technically you did. Technically, you killed it with your body. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it counts.
There's plenty. Yeah.
Scoreboard. You know, he's just like,
you hunt long enough, you grow up doing that all your life. You know, it's just part of who you are.
Exactly. Hot damn, man, that makes me so happy. You and I also played basketball together.
Okay.
You and I were
play basketball is a loose term. I don't really play basketball. I foul people.
No. We practiced together and rode the bench together for a season with Denton.
Oh, yeah. So I only played basketball that 1 year.
Yeah.
And that was because, like, I had too many concussions that year to play football.
Right.
And so I was like, dude, I got to play, like, some kind of sport.
Uh-huh.
And I remember because, like, I tried out and, like, I knew I sucked. Like, I knew there was no way I was going to get to play all year, but I was like, I got to do something, man. And I remember, like, Denton was, like, so mad that I tried to play that, like, Ray was like, dude, he has never run us like this before. Because, like, the first week of practice, all we did was run. And I remember it was, like, the third or fourth day or whatever. We were running, and, like, I don't know. We were, like, 15 suicides into, like, a 30 suicide day or whatever. And, like, on, like, number 15, I just went over to the trash can, puked, and then kept running, and then he never ran us again after that day because I was convinced he was just trying to run me until I quit.
Yep.
And after he saw that, I guess he was just...
He had the respect.
I don't think he had respect. I just think he was like, he's not going to quit.
Right, no. The respect enough to be like, all right, he's not gonna. Like, and you had that determination to prove the point.
Yeah, it's like, dude, yeah, I'm a fat guy. Running's not my thing, but, you know...
It's not going to stop me.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, like, you know, he'd put me in whenever he wanted a flagrant one on somebody.
Yep.
So,
if we're up by 27, you know, me, you, and Bradley Robinson got some playing time. Like, I understand.
Yeah. I had 1 point that whole year. Yeah.
Free throw, right?
One free throw because the Mountainburg kid dunked before the game, so didn't give me a free throw.
Yeah. Oh, Mario.
Because it was senior night.
Yep. They came and played us 1 year, or we went and played them 1 year, and Victor threw an alley-oop and dunked on Adam. Like, fully, like, Shaquille O'Neal double-handed on Adam. He was like, that didn't dunk on me. And he went to go do it again on me and Matt. And Matt and I looked at each other, and we were like... And we just both grabbed his shoulders and just held him, took 2 steps, and set him down.
That was like me. It's like, I can't do anything, but, like, you're not... Like,
you're not going to do that.
I can foul somebody real hard.
Yeah, and we fucked with Mario at the time because we were still, like, cool enough with, like, baseball and through track. Yeah. So we both picked him up and held him, like, both around his waist, set him down, and like, you're not dunking on us, dude. And he started laughing. He was okay, I promise.
Yeah.
And then just went along with it. Now, you and I have gone a long way back, and speaking of church camp, you've always been a really big staple to me when it comes to religion. When did your religion start?
Oh gosh, this is a really actually kind of complicated question for me.
Yeah.
So
If we don't want to talk about this, if you don't want.
no, no, that's fine. It's just kind of a long deal.
Oh,
Like
okay.
a lot of people that are Christians have oh, well, I prayed, this time or whatever. I was an atheist for a long time.
Right.
Whenever I was younger, all the way growing up through, I would say ninth grade, I was just there's no God.
Yeah.
I'm a man of science.
Right.
You have to be able to prove things to me, that kind of thing, and kind of ties in with my mental health stuff. I just, life wasn't really going very well, and I just started praying, and I was like, God, I don't believe in you at all, but if you're gonna do something, my life ain't working out, with me running it right now, so I guess I'll give this a shot. And then I just started having weird dreams and stuff, and dreams aren't really a thing that I ever really had because one, I don't sleep much.
Right.
But,
You have.
I have pretty
anxiety.
severe insomnia, but and then I started reading the Bible, and I'd been real familiar with the Bible before because I always read it just to argue with people. I know a lot about pretty much every world religion,
Right.
and especially now as being a history teacher.
You
that's
weren't. You were one of those people that was just that would trash it and then just walk. You had.
I was this is why.
Yes. Yeah. You were actually educated. You weren't one of those people that was just I'm gonna type something mean.
Yeah. It wasn't just that, and it wasn't I was trying to bash Christians or anything like that. It was just
No.
It's not I just can't wrap my mind around this. And then whenever I started to actually I don't know, having I would say more of an actual relationship with God, but in a weird way.
Right.
It was just a thing that I kind of started to accept it over time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have a nailed down day or anything like that. And I just started giving my life over to God very slowly. And I would say I wasn't really honestly solid until my senior year or junior. My senior year, freshman year of college, honestly.
Okay.
I wasn't full in and fully committed. And I've had even since then I've had struggles with it for sure. Whenever I was in Alaska, things got man, I've just seen some stuff up there.
Right.
And we'll get into some of the school stories and stuff later, but and things I've seen, but and then as I got older, still struggling with my mental health and stuff and PTSD and all kinds of stuff. So then things got rough, and I kind of was God, if you're real, why am I still dealing with all this, and kind of was man, I just don't know what to do with this. And I didn't renounce God or anything, but I was just not as bought in for a little while. And then whenever I got married and we lost our foster kids, I had 4 foster kids for a year and a half, and we lost them in a super weird way. Just some weird dynamics with the tribal foster care system, but
Right.
I found out later that wasn't exactly the case.
Correct. Correct.
But whenever that happened, I was just man, God, I don't know what I've been doing. And whenever we lost those kids, that actually brought me back in a weird way. And then got pretty good, and then divorce happens, and stuff like that. But I'm still pretty good, and I know God has a plan, and I know the thing that you've got to tell yourself is whenever all these awful things can happen in your life, right? That's not necessarily God's plan for you.
Right.
Because stuff happens that's definitely not in God's will and God's plan. But the thing is too is life and God, they don't owe you anything.
Right.
Which is a weird kind of way to put it, but the way that I can best explain it is God loved you so much that he gave you as much as he can already give you, in the fact that you're going to have a relationship with him forever, and he's going to love you forever. And if you can actually wrap your head around what that means, which is really hard to do, then you honestly don't care about the bad shit that happens anymore.
Right.
Because you
You have that in the back of your head.
you know how solid you are, and then with that relationship, but it's a really hard thing to wrap your earthly head around, I guess.
Yes.
And it's a thing that it's so hard to just like explain to people that like don't know what it is. Like having to teach about like Islam and Judaism and Buddhism and all of that kind of stuff, and then especially when I was living in Alaska and the reservation in Montana, really like I've been to like sweat lodges and stuff like that with like the indigenous like religion and like kind of like how they integrate it, or even like basically how they blend their indigenous religion even with Christianity, and how there's like some concepts of both in there, which is like really, really cool. But
that's sick. That's damn. I did not knowing that how you were growing up a little bit as you continuously transition to religion. I didn't expect you to pay attention to other religions.
Yeah,
like you to go to that.
God reveals himself in like all kinds of different ways, and now like I'm a Christian in the fact of like I do think like Jesus is the only way you're getting to heaven,
right?
But like that's open to everybody. But do I think that God reveals himself to people in like different ways? Absolutely. And do I think that there's like certain things in certain other religions that absolutely make sense? Yeah, I do.
Right.
And like that's even the thing with certain things. Like Buddhism didn't even like start out as like trying to be a religion.
Right.
It's just a thing that happened like after the guy that started it. Like he didn't want anything to do with like starting a religion. It just kind of happened. But like God reveals himself in all kind of different ways, and just because something is like of a different thing, that doesn't mean that there's no value to it necessarily. So
absolutely.
And that's the thing too. Like you're supposed to love everybody, right? And so like if somebody has a different belief system, like if I love them, the first thing I'm gonna do is not be like, "Hey, you're stupid. Let me tell you why you're wrong."
I understand.
Yeah, it's more trying to find like the common ground of what you have in common, and then like have a like actual respectful conversation about like, hey, you know, if you think this, I kind of think this, like where's the middle ground in this, or like, you know, or here's where we just agree to disagree, you know, however you're going to get to it.
I found over the years that something that a wise man once told me, educate, don't humiliate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it took me a long time to fully understand it, but when you're trying to like talk to me, you know, like I figured it out. I don't like the way people talk to me in certain aspects. The way like if you're trying to teach me something, teach me, educate me.
Well, yeah, nobody likes being like talked to like they're an idiot. Like,
right.
Zero people like that.
Yeah, I had no understanding of it fully, or like how to process it until they said
like,
that.
I mean, how many people like the fact of, hey, you're wrong. This is what it actually is. Don't be so dumb. Like, no, nobody likes being talked to like that.
Exactly. Now, you like you said, you are a history teacher. Do you have any kind of crazy teaching stories? You got any wild kids?
Anybody so like I can talk about stuff like this. Just you know, obviously, I'm not using names or anything like that. So teaching stories. Let's see. So whenever I was still like doing my like internships and stuff, whenever I was still in college, I remember the first time they threw me into a classroom. I was in like an alternative learning environment classroom where like half of the kids had ankle monitors, and so like that was an interesting experience. Didn't really
yeah.
Like it was like a 2-year window where like I got it was the OCD, and like working out became like my thing. And so like I think if that hadn't happened during that specific window of time, I wouldn't have done as well as I did, because I actually had some respect just because of like how I looked. Your stature? I guess.
Yeah.
And some stuff like that, because like even though I'm a short dude, like, you know, especially a like bald short dude, tattoos, beard, like it's kind of intimidating even though you're smaller than most of them.
Right.
But it's just its own kind of thing. And then
you still don't want to take that chance.
So then whenever I went up to Alaska, my first year up there, I remember it was like 3 weeks in, and so you're living up there, and like I said, there's no way out. Like,
right.
It's literally to get out, you have to get on a plane. And the first village I was in, the plane only came like once every 2 or 3 weeks. So like literally no way out. And I remember, so like the gym is locked, and I'm always the first teacher there because I'm there at like 4 or 5 in the morning because I have to do like junior high basketball practice and stuff like that. And I get there, and somebody's broken in, and I have to like escort them out. And it's this guy, and he's like this well-known like criminal in the town or whatever, but like they don't kick people out pretty much, because like everybody's related to each other, and so like everybody's family. And then I remember I go to school the next day, and he's outside right in front of the school, and points a 38 right in my face, and he's like, give me one good reason why I shouldn't kill you. And like I was just walking that day, and I whenever I walk up there, I have a bear gun because there's bears everywhere, and I pull out my gun, and I'm just like, because my bullet will make a bigger hole than yours does. And so like that was a wild thing.
Damn.
That was like second or third week of school, by the way, up there. That guy ended up getting arrested after that, obviously, for pulling a gun on me because like mine was self-defense and whatever. But yeah, so that was the whole thing. And then let's see, that year my principal was like a drunk, and so like he got like moved at the end of the school year, and then actually I think he ended up dying the next year, if I remember right, which was crazy. So like, and then like there was a bunch of just bad stuff with like that principal and the kids that happened, and it was nasty. And then I moved villages, one because of that principal, and then two, just to, have running water and electricity again. And I taught that year. That year was pretty easy, pretty chill.
Have you ever had any fight like so?
Oh yeah. That's what I was getting to. So we had this one kid. He was like, okay, so you got to understand, like, where I was in Alaska, it's the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. The people there are Yupik, and most Yupik people are pretty small. All right, like up there, I was a giant. I was like tall. Me at like 5'7", I'm a monster. But like they had this one kid, he was in the 8th grade, and he was like 6'2", solid 300 pounds.
He's going to the league,
and he's like 8th, 9th grade, and he has some like cognitive delays and stuff like that. But dude, he wants to fight somebody every day. And guess who the only person in the school is who can control him if he gets mad?
Hold me tight.
It was me. And so I like almost every day I'd have to like run somewhere in the school to like go like control him, and then like get the village police there to take him home. And that was pretty much an everyday thing for a while until he finally calmed down. And then then gets to like what I consider my like worst story that I had in Alaska. So I'd been teaching this kid, and he was a senior, and seems like a normal kid, seems like a good kid, stuff like that. Has a girlfriend, gets his girlfriend pregnant. Not a big deal. That happens.
It happens.
Stuff like that. But then one day we have a 3rd grade girl that goes missing, and which happens from time to time up there. People fall through the ice, or stuff like that. And so we're all like, got a search party out, like looking for her, all this stuff, and like we just can't find her. And it's been like a week, which normally doesn't go that long. And then I'm going to the dump one day just to take my trash, and I find an arm.
What?
Yeah, I find an arm in the trash, and then I end up finding like the other pieces of this like 3rd grade kid's body. And then like if that's not like bad enough, doing that, then we figure out later that it's like this kid that I taught that like ended up molesting her, and then like it went too far, and then he accidentally killed her, and then that's how he got rid of the body. And like it was just like So it was like, because like all these kids intimately. There's only like 400 people in the village, and
Right.
you're like there all the time, and so then you have like this third grader, and then it's like a kid you taught. And you go through that thing of like, is there anything else I could have done, or like why didn't I notice that this kind of stuff was gonna happen, and so like I have I've been teaching only about like 9 years now. I've went to probably 32 student funerals already.
Jesus.
Just because of like kids falling through the ice, or like I've saved kids from falling through the ice, and then like, but like suicide's just like nasty thing up there, and then like can't tell you how many kids I've had to Narcan before and stuff like that. Not nearly as many crazy stories from Montana though.
Right. Makes sense.
I'm on a reservation, but really those kids are pretty chill.
Yeah.
I love those kids. I mean, I love whatever kids I'm teaching wherever I'm at, but kids are kids.
Yeah. Kids gonna be kids.
So
now, as I said in the episode, and as every other appearance for Saturday morning cartoons, you are the Avatar connoisseur.
Yes.
Yes. Tattoos prove.
Yeah, I have tattoos.
The pin, the whole nine.
Yeah.
When did your love for Avatar start?
Oh, dude, it actually didn't start like, because the show came out whenever I was like, I don't know, maybe in middle school or whatever.
Right.
But I didn't really watch it until I was like 10th, 11th grade. I watched it with Corey Eveld.
Shout out Corey.
We watched it at Corey's house for the very first time, and we like marathon the whole thing, like all in one day. Like we watched it from beginning to end, all in one day. And it was wild. It was super fun. We were all, because it was like me, Corey, Ray, Seth, Kaya, and then I can't remember who Corey's girlfriend was at that time. I can't remember which one it was.
Megan Jinshi or Ashlyn Brandon, probably.
No, it wasn't either of those at the time.
Oh, well, you were in when? 9th or 10th?
Yeah, I was in like 9th or 10th grade. I can't remember,
no,
but then like, yeah, and we just had a really fun time doing that. We're just hanging out, so then, so that's really where the love of it started, and then I just kept watching it, because like I said, I have insomnia, so like Avatar's like a lot of times what I'll put on just whenever I'm going to bed, and I'll just watch it until I fall asleep. So that's really whenever I got into it.
Oh, that's how I got into Digimon as an adult. As I graduated, it was I'm gonna watch the first season while I go to sleep, and then it was, well, shit. Now it's 5 a.m. I just binge watched the 13 episodes. Damn it.
Yeah. I do that with shows all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so you start. Okay, fair enough. What do you like better, Avatar, Last Airbender, or Korra?
Oh, absolutely, Avatar.
Okay,
like it's not
perfect.
even close. Like
Perfect.
I like Korra too, but there's probably nothing that will, like, in the Avatar world that they're ever gonna make that's gonna be better than like just the original show for me.
Perfect. On a scale of 1 to 10, what did you rate the Netflix series?
The Netflix series, I actually really liked some of the changes that they made. So which can be kind of a hot take, but I actually really like some of the ways that they deviated. Out of scale like 1 to 10, I'd give it a solid 9. I really like it. I really enjoy it.
I respect that. It was a little hard for me to get into. I don't know why. I think it's just because I had that theater PTSD of M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, see, and the thing with me is I've never seen that movie.
Fuck you and Ray.
So it's never been ruined for me. So I refuse to watch it, like, because I watched the trailer and I'm like, I'm not watching anything if they call him Ong.
Ray,
so
Ray said 15,000 subscribers. We'll do an episode of where we watch it and review it. You might have to be on that 15,000 episode.
Yeah, if 15,000 people do it, I'll sit myself down and force myself to watch it. But unless that happens, there's no way.
I understand. No, I fully understand. Now, before we get out of here, my friend, I want to ask you some fan questions that we have for season 3.
Okay, sure thing.
Answer them as openly and as honestly as you would like. Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
Marvel or DC?
That's dependent for me.
Perfect.
So if you're talking movies, Marvel, absolutely. If you're talking shows, DC, absolutely. If you're talking about like which ones, I generally like the like heroes and villains from more. Villains more of a DC guy, heroes more of a Marvel guy. So it's really kind of a dependent question.
That is the perfect answer because it is always very well known. Marvel can't do a good TV show unless you count like the first, like Agents of Shield a little bit, I guess. But then you still have the entire Arrowverse and everything else.
Yeah.
And every animated project they've ever done.
Yep, and like honestly, I'll be real with you. I really haven't watched many of the movies since Endgame. Like before Endgame, I was like all in on everything they made, and then they just started making too much, bro.
I understand.
And I was like, and that's whenever I moved up to Alaska and like got a life. So I was like, I cannot keep up. And whenever I was in Alaska, I've got no electricity. I've got no internet. I can't watch nothing.
Yeah, you were there.
And so, like, whenever I got to the second place in Alaska.
You missed 9 movies and fucking 17 TV shows. You're up there.
Yeah, and then, like, the 2 years that I was in the other, like, place in Alaska where I did, you know, at least have electricity, I didn't have internet. So the only way, dude, I had binders full of DVDs. And I had, like, I want to say 35,000 DVDs.
I believe it.
It was crazy.
I fully believe it. Oh, that makes me so happy. Well, have you seen any of the new Marvel stuff now lately? Shows, anything?
I watched Shang-Chi, but that's not new.
No, but pretty good though.
And then like I watched like the new Doctor Strange. So like I've watched like the mainline movies, I guess, but I've seen like none of the shows.
I recommend. I do recommend the shows. Except She-Hulk. It's okay. It's fine. Perfectly. It's fine. I don't care about Megan Thee Stallion shaking her ass. I don't care about it. It's She-Hulk. She's a lawyer. I do not care. She's a lawyer in a superhero world. Who gives a shit? Miss Marvel was okay. It was a Lizzie McGuire had superpowers show.
I do like Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah, it wasn't for
Beans is good.
Beans, hey, it wasn't for our demographic, but it was still like, oh, it can connect. This is how good actress. Good. She's a nerd enough to understand the whole comic line. Very excited with it. Moon Knight, I loved it.
I know almost zero about Moon Knight, but I remember loving playing the game Marvel Ultimate Alliance on like the Xbox 360.
I got stoned this morning.
Moon Knight was like my favorite character. So
I got stoned this morning, and it was just, I swear, it was all cutscenes from Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and I went, well, obviously gonna have to watch that for a second. And I put it on for like 6 minutes, and I was like, all right, that's enough of it. Hot damn, was that a good game? Oh,
it was a good game.
I remember the claw machine where you could pick out characters, you can save them and stuff like that. It was the best, dude. Who's your favorite hero and favorite villain? From it doesn't matter what franchise.
Okay, so both of these come from Marvel. Both of them come from X-Men. So my favorite villain is hands down Magneto.
Let's go.
And just basically just because of the backstory, man. Like, I can understand 100% where the man's coming from.
Without a doubt.
Like, Holocaust survivor, you're having to deal with, like, you know, basically being exterminated. And then, like, basically you're just, like, fighting back to try to, like, survive. And you have like, even him and, like, Xavier have a lot of the same ideologies, just a different way of going about doing it. So, you know, like, Magneto's just, like, a really, really well-written character.
The way they really wrote Professor X and Magneto was the same way they depicted Malcolm X and
MLK.
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's amazing to see their dynamic, and everyone knows their backstory like that. And they're like, that's fuck. You know, he's one of the only real villains that you're like, I understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then favorite hero, Wolverine. So, and kind of the same thing, messed up backstory, has to, like, live forever, watch all of his friends die, and, like, you know, he's gruff by the end of it, just, like, kind of hates the world, but still does the right thing, most of the time anyways. So, you know, I've got love in my heart for that guy.
I respect it. Did you watch Deadpool and Wolverine?
I did. I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, didn't like it.
All right. J. Paul was on the episode previous to you. Let me ask you a question. What did you think of Channing Tatum as Gambit? Go ahead. It's okay. He hated it.
I didn't like it. And so here's the thing. I think he played the character fine. I've lived in Louisiana. The accent made no sense.
There it is. Same thing with Jay was like, here's the thing. No. But Mook, my buddy Mook, he had a couple ideas for the episode for the podcast itself that we've done for him, sponsored by Mook. But he's from Lafayette, he's from around Alexandria, and he was like, no, that's how we talk around there. Like, and I was like,
it must be a very specific part that I did not live in.
100%.
Because I was like more around like the Baton Rouge area.
I've had more people say that's not how Cajun people talk, compared to people that are in Louisiana being like, nah, he talks like that. But it's like only a rare. Like, I'm from.
Dude, have you seen like The Water Boy? Right?
Yes,
obviously. Dude, Farmer Fran. That's how I'm used to people down there talking. Esquildo.
It's used to talking like Bubba Bell. You know what I mean? It's just.
All right, yeah. All right, what's the next?
Who is your favorite bender in the Avatar franchise?
I'll give you. You tell me.
Is it Uncle Iroh?
It's Iroh. Like that's like not even a question.
It's the legend himself. What is your favorite video game?
Okay, so this is a kind of hard question because most of my favorite video games just have something to do with like nostalgia for me. Like I'm a big fan of like the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube particularly.
Absolutely.
Super Mario Strikers, the soccer game.
Yep.
Love that because like me and Alex Gossett and Brad would play that like all the time whenever I'd go over to the factory over there.
Yep.
And then like the original Borderlands for Xbox 360, me and Ray used to play that on like the co-op career mode all the time. Same thing with like Rock Band. Really liked that. But as far as like solo games that I guess I would play, I really like platformers. So like Super Mario Sunshine and like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, that kind of stuff.
Yes. Did you watch the Borderlands movie?
I did not.
Okay. It tanked bad.
I'm not surprised that that game should never have been a movie.
Thank you. What is the best movie trilogy in your opinion?
Best. Okay, so I'm gonna amend this, and I'm gonna go movie and book trilogy.
Ooh, perfect.
All right. So there's this book trilogy that I love, and I want so bad because there's not a movie adaptation of it yet, and it could be so good and has so much potential. It's called the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman, who is like a Jewish author. And basically what it's about, if you've never read it, I'm going to try to like kind of give a synopsis without spoiling anything.
1 second.
I'll try to give like a synopsis without spoiling anything, but basically like AI has gotten really advanced and it has become God to people. And but like the AI is good. And like it's a good God. And people worship it, but like technology has advanced to such a point that people don't die anymore. But like, you know, you have a Thanos problem where the world can only sustain so many people, but the AI that's God is good, and so it refuses to like kill people, and so it has to establish this like order of what they call scythes, which are like people that have to kill people. But the thing is if you're in this like scythedom or whatever, you don't get to have any direct relationship with God or the AI, like
because you're
killing people. But like it's a thing that like has to be there. And then like obviously like there's like corruption within the scythedom and stuff, and it just becomes this whole freaking thing. And it's so like it is the best book series I've ever read, and I want a movie adaptation of it so bad. But then like if you're going like an actual movie trilogy, I just go like The Hobbit. It's a good, like, I love it. Like Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. Can't go wrong with that. It's just good stuff.
Fuck yes.
Also really like the Divergent series. Even the movies are pretty good.
I was genuinely surprised by it.
Yeah, even the movies are pretty good. Not as good as the books, especially the way it ends. The way it ends in the books and the movies is way different. But
I think that was mainly to do with like studio differences.
I guess. But you know,
dude, thank you so much for being here, Ty. It has been genuinely an absolute pleasure. This is probably my favorite episode I've ever done, because it's just so fluent. We can relax. We can talk to each other. We know each other enough that we can just have a good conversation.
Yeah, dude.
It means the absolute world, buddy. Truly. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys next time. See you Ty on the next Saturday Morning Cartoons episode. Drink plenty of water. Be safe. Later.